Shalom, 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 Israel. Shabbat shalom. You guys try to get on here today. Right now you're seeing this. This is probably around midnight, Saturday morning, right? But we're still gonna consider it as our Friday here, right? Just getting off work not too long ago, um, and been sitting in the truck trying to come up with some precepts for you guys for this lesson. Kind of just piggybacking off the lesson that we had on yesterday or Thursday, right? As we try to get out at least 2 videos a week for you guys, right? And so we're gonna push forward. My name is Denal, and first and foremost, we want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by way of His Son, and we do so by way of His Son, who the world inwardly calls Jesus Christ, right? Who some know as Yahweh Shai, which means He shall save, because He shall save His people in these last days, right? We see a lot of chaos going on in the world, and we know the time is at hand, and Yahweh Shai is coming back, and it's getting to the point where either you were keeping these commandments or you weren't, right? But this lesson today is going to be called spiritual pocket watching, right? Just piggybacking off of the lesson that we did on yesterday, right? So spiritual pocket watching, what am I talking about? We did a lesson yesterday called David syndrome, which pretty much meant a person that thinks that they're an exception to the rule, a person that thinks that their favor outweighs the necessity of them being obedient, right? What is spiritual pocket watching? Spiritual pocket watching would be um envying the favor somebody has on their life, right? That would be spiritual pocket watching. Envying the favor somebody has on their life, right? And so we're gonna pull out a few examples today. Let me share my screen really quick. Hopefully this Wi-Fi works pretty good um on the company Wi-Fi right now, but we're gonna keep it rolling, right? Let's see here. Boom, 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 bam. All right, we're gonna start off right here in Exodus chapter 20 and verse 17. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's, right? And the brother brought this out, man, and I love the fact that he brought this out, um, because the scriptures are deep and they apply to a lot of things. Not only are you not supposed to covet all these things listed, but you're not supposed to covet anything of thy neighbors, right? Including your neighbor's favor or the favor that they have on their life, right? You're not supposed to envy that. Again, man, when you come in this truth, we understand that favor is not fair. We have things that are universally required of us. You just got to put your head down, right, and do those things, and stop watching, spiritually pocket watching the favor that's on other people's lives, right? Stay disciplined to what you're supposed to be doing, right? Control what you can control and let the rest unfold is what I like to say on the end of that infamous proverb, right? Again, control what you can control and let the rest unfold, right? And who knows, man, through your discipline, your humility, you might be able to obtain that favor that you are seeking for, right? The first example we're gonna bring out is in the book of First Samuel. We're gonna go to chapter 25, right? This is a very, if you guys have been reading, you've known this story, right? We're gonna kick it off. We left off with talking about David syndrome, so we're gonna kick it off with David, right, and the favor that he had, right? And so this story right here in First Samuel chapter 25 is the story of David, Abigail, and Nabal, right? Now, Nabal is the key man we're gonna be seeing here. Let's see if we can get some context on Nabal, right? Let's start at verse 2. And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel, And the man was very great, and he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel, right? Um, Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife was Abigail. So Abigail was his wife, and she was a woman of good understanding and of beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb, right? So that's a little background story on Nabal, right? Um, Nabal was pretty favorite of himself, right? And so we got some people that still spiritually pocket watch, you know, in this truth or in the world, that have favor on their life, but they still envy other people's favor as well, right? And they do it through ways that aren't so direct, right? But they do it in ways like this that are kind of nasty and evil, right? So verse number 9. And when David's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all those words in the name of David, and they ceased, right? They came to deliver a message to Nabal. David had some requests that he wanted Nabal to do. If you know David, man, he's running things at this point, right? He's the man, right? And everybody pretty much knows the favor of God is on his life, right? And so if he asks you to do something, man, it's best for you to do it, right? Verse number 10. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, who is David and who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master, right? Pretty much saying, David's a nobody, right? I'm supposed to do this because David said it, right? Who does he think he is, right? What kind of authority does he think he have, right? Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers and give it unto men whom I know whence they be? I don't even know where you guys come from. And we know that Nabal knows who David is. He's lying through his teeth, right? So David's young men turned away and went again and came and told him all those things. And David said unto his men, gird ye up every man his sword, and they girded on every man's sword. And David also girded on his sword. And they went up after David about 400 men, and 200 abode by themselves. So David got mad, man. He was like, man, does he not know who he's speaking to? Right? You know what I'm saying? Through the spirit and power of the Most High God by way of his son, right? But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute your master, and he railed on them. But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed any, as long as we were conversing with them when we were in the fields, right? Let me see if I can get to the point. Let's see here. Where is it at? All right, I think it's right here. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing less or more until the morning light. So she didn't even tell him what was going on, that David was going to come kill him or anything, right? Verse 38. And it came to pass about 10 days after that the Lord smote Nabal, that he died, right? So he probably died in his sleep or something like that. But we see that, what does it say? Touch not thine anointed, and do my prophets no harm, right? When somebody's clearly anointed, when somebody's clearly favored, bro, you don't touch them, you don't talk bad about them, you don't bring up their wrongdoings, you don't bring up their sin, you don't bring up any touch not thine anointed, and do the prophets no harm, no matter what you think. We see that a lot with David, right? And David understood this. Even with Saul, he understood Saul was anointed to be king. Saul was one of the Most High's anointed. Even though all his soldiers were ready to kill Saul, David understood, nah, man, even though we can see that he's doing some wrong things, he's still the anointed of God. He's here to serve a purpose, right? And he never struck a hand at Saul, neither did he try to kill him. He understood because he was a man after the Most High's heart. Let's go to the next example here. Let's stay in 1 Samuel. Let's go to 1 Samuel 18:8. Speaking of King Saul, let's see a little bit about King Saul and his envy, right? Let's start at verse 8. 1 Samuel 18:8. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. We're gonna see what saying is talking about, right? And he said, they have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but just thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? And so I David from that day and forward. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house, and David played with the hands. And as other times there was a javelin in Saul's hand, and Saul cast the javelin. He has this big old javelin, and he cast it, right? He threw it. And he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice. So he tried to do it twice, right? I believe a javelin is like a big spear, so he kind of cocked it back and threw it, right? Trying to kill David. I want to point out right here, verse 8, that he saw that the kingdom favored David more than him, and he was the king, right? And he didn't like that. He envied that favor. He's saying, why are they saying that he kills 10,000? I only kill thousands, man. I want that praise, right? I want that favor, right? I believe, he's probably like, man, if given the opportunity, I probably could kill 10,000 just like David, right? But again, it shows you how the envying of his favor caused him to do evil works, why he tries to kill his brother David. Right. And and there David and Saul, they go back and forth. That whole scenario of Saul persecuting David, and we all know how that ends up, man. It ends up driving Saul kind of crazy, man, to the point where it just kind of drives him to his own destruction, man. And he ends up dying, man. Had to fall on his own sword, no pun intended. Right. So that's another very great example. Let's go to the book of Numbers really quick. I think we brought this one out. Yesterday, but I'm gonna still bring it out because it's a very good example. Numbers 12:1. So Numbers 12:1. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman who he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, has the Lord indeed spoke only by Moses? Has he not also spoken by us? And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses, so this at this time, man, it's commandment that we couldn't deal with certain nations, and Cush was one. And if you know Cush, we know that the Ethiopians came out of Cush, right? And so we see Miriam, she's throwing shots and she's trying to point out the impurities in Moses' actions and things like that. Even though Moses was set up to be the king over Israel at this time, Moses was anointed to lead them out of the promised land. I mean, into the promised land. Moses was anointed to, lead them nonetheless, right? And we see Miriam here, and she's saying pretty much in her statement right here, where she says, has the Lord indeed spoken by only Moses? Has he not spoken by also us? The Lord, and the Lord heard it, right? And the Lord heard it, right? She's pretty much saying, hey, look, man, is Moses the only guy that can do this? Did not the Most High give us power to do the same thing that Moses is doing? Answer is no, right? Moses, I mean, he chose Moses for a purpose from when he was born, right? And we can see that throughout his whole story. Miriam and Aaron, man, they kind of got beside themselves. And how did they get beside themselves? They were spiritually pocket watching, man. They seen this man Moses. They probably thought he was inadequate to lead them. They said, hey, man, how can he lead us? He's even breaking commandments, right? But who the Lord has respect unto, man, can't really, there's nothing you can do, right? Who he has set up for a purpose. Touch not thine anointed, and do not my prophets no harm. And when it comes to no harm, it even talks about speaking in a bad way towards his anointed, right? We see that with the prophet, and I want to say, was that Jeremiah the prophet, that was prophesying, man, and them little kids was making fun of him, saying he was bald and all of that, man, just joking around. And then we see what happened to those little kids, right? The she bear came out of nowhere and killed all of them, right? So the Most High is not playing about His anointed. And if it wasn't the prophet Jeremiah, Salakia, please forgive me, right? You can comment below and tell me which prophet it actually was. But we see that the Most High is not playing, right? With that being said, what happened to Miriam? We're seeing the judgments for all these people that speak against the Most High's anointed, who spiritually pocket watch the favor on other people's lives, right? Let's see here. What happened to Miriam? And the Lord came down in the pillar of cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, "Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision and will speak unto him in a dream, saying, hey, look, if there's going to be a prophet among you, you'll know, because I, the Lord, will speak with that person, right? I haven't spoke with none of you. So that statement that you said is false. It can't be another Moses, and it's surely not you, because I haven't set you up. I set Moses up, right? My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house, right? With him I will speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in the dark speeches. In the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses, who I set up like none other? You're not afraid to speak against him? That's like speaking against me. That's like I don't know, man. What's a scenario I can have, man? It's like, yeah, head coach. He got the star player, right? Best one on the team, right? And then you got a mediocre player that gets moderate playing time, want to speak up on what he's doing with the star player, right? You're gonna speak up against a star player? Who are you? You're not contributing anything. Well, you're not contributing as much as he is, right? Matter of fact, hey, you're a cancer, man. Get up out my gym. It's the same thing. You're not afraid to speak against the Most High servant who He has set up. That's a problem, right? And so, with that being a problem, that the anger of the Lord was kindled against him, and he departed. And the cloud departed and off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous, right? And so Miriam was turned leprous, right? We know she gets turned back, but right, the whole point of it is that, man, hey, she was talking about, hey, man, this man done married another nation, right? We know Ethiopians now are kind of lighter skin. I don't know if they were back then, but just for the sake of this, man, it's funny because the Most High changed her skin. She might have been glorifying her skin, saying, man, he brought this light skinned Ethiopian, man. I don't know. I'm not colorist, you know what I'm saying? My wife is light skinned, but I'm just speaking, saying what possibly could have happened. And the Most High changed her skin, right? You're so worried about it. Let me change your skin. Now you're defiled. Now you're unclean. What about you now, right? You think you're so high and mighty and you could do it, but you can't do nothing when you're unclean. You know what I'm saying? Just showing the hand of the Most High. Who He favors is who He favors, right? He will choose to have compassion on whom He will have compassion, right? Let's get one more example here. Let's go to the book of Genesis 37 and 11. 37 and 11. This is a very good example as well, right? Boom. 37 and 11. This is talking about Joseph. So we know about Joseph in the colorful cloak or jacket or coat, right? And then we know that Joseph had his, of course, the patriarchs, his brothers, right? His 10, 11, 12 odd brothers, right? I think so. Right now it would be Joseph. So I think it would be 9 other brothers, if I'm not mistaken, right? At this time. And so we see Joseph, and it says, and this is just pretty much going over him and his relationship with his brothers, right? So it says, and his brethren, Joseph's brethren, they envied him. They envied the favor on his life. But his father observed the saying, right? Saying, so the saying was pretty much Joseph said something about the dream that he had, and the brothers didn't like it. They envied him because he was having all these dreams and prophesying, right? And his father observed the saying and he took it into consideration. His brothers envied him for it, right? Verse number 12, and his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem, and Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto thee to them. And he said to him, here I am, Salakia. And he said to him, go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, what seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, they are departed hence, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him. What are they doing, right? They envied him so much that they conspired against their own blood brother, right? And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh, saying, hey, man, here's this guy that has all these dreams, man. Here he comes, thinking he's, high and mighty. And one, he's coming to us late. He should have been with us doing this work, but he's coming late. He just thinks he's all special, right? Come now, therefore, and let us slay him. They thought to kill their brother and cast him into some pit, and we will say, some evil beasts have devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams, saying, we'll kill him, and then we'll see how many dreams he'll have when he's dead, right? And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into the pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. Saying that, we're mad right now, but in the future we still want him to come back to his father, right? And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat. His coat had many colors that was on it, right? And they took him and cast him into the pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down and ate their bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels bearing spicy and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt, right? And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother in our flesh. And his brethren were content. So they end up selling their brother, right? They trapped him and they ended up selling him. And we know the story, how he ends up in Egypt, right? Ends up in prison, all of this stuff. And then out of nowhere, we see him get taken out of prison and get put on high, even in Egypt, to the point where the brothers had to come to him for help, right? Because he had they said that he was second in command to the Pharaoh, right? So the Most High still had favor on his life, even in this situation, to the point where he forced his brothers to be humble enough to come towards back to him, right? Put them in a humble state, even through all their envying of his favor, right? Because at the end of the day, whom the Lord set up, you cannot overthrow. You might think you're doing something by casting him in the pit and getting rid of him, right? All you're doing is propelling him into his purpose even more, right? And so another great example, right? And so those are a few examples of spiritual pocket watching, man. Something we all have to make sure we're not doing. Even when we're reading about some of our forefathers and our foremothers in the Bible, right? And we see how they're anointed. We see their mishaps and stuff. Keep in mind, their mishaps are written for what? Our learning. So it's important that we like to sometimes, I know, remember when I was in the Christian church, they'll take and they'll say stuff like David was an adulterer, Noah was a drunk, right? Taking these one or two times that these people misstep, and they're categorizing them in these sinner categories, right? Not realizing that they're still the Most High's anointed. dead or not, they're still the Most High's anointed. And a lot of us, we cause judgment on ourselves and we don't even know it when we condemn the Most High's anointed, even if they're sleeping right now, right? Because, hey, look, man, who the Most High anoints, you, what did he say to Miriam? He said, you're not afraid to talk against the person I set up? Paraphrasing. There's a problem with that, and judgment follows, right? So we have to be careful about what we say. We have to be careful about the judgment that we're casting. You know, and at this point, man, if you notice somebody has favor on their life, stay humble. Again, put your head down, control what you can control, right? Stay disciplined, do what's required of you, and hopefully that favor will bleed off into you, right? There's a saying, I believe, um, you know, if my neighbor is prospering, right? That means it's coming my way next because I'm right next door. Paraphrasing, right? We all heard something along that along that I don't know, man, brain fart right now. Along those lines, right? Along those lines, we all heard something along those lines, man. But that's something that you got to do. You got to stay disciplined, focus on yourself, do what's required of you, right? And if the favor comes, man, the favor comes. But we got to understand that favor is not fair. But who the Most High choose to favor, we cannot spiritual pocket watch them. We cannot envy the favor that somebody has on their life, right? If anything, man, you can just add to their favor, right? If you see somebody that the Most High is set up and you see the favor on their life, obviously the Most High, it has it like that for a reason. And so, you know, the best thing that you can do is, you know, add to that person's favor with the Most High, right? And so, you know what I'm saying, you can help out the Most High and adding to that person's favor. That's ultimately what he wants us to do. You know, we're all a team here, right? Every team has a star player, right? But everybody has to play their role, you know. And sometimes, even when you play your role, you might think you're better than that person. Sometimes you got to wait your turn, and sometimes your turn might never come. But it's ultimately, man, the whole duty of man is to keep these laws, statutes, commandments, and fear the Most High God. Stay disciplined, because obedience is better than sacrifice. With that, I'm Brother Danal. I hope you guys have a wonderful Shabbat. Yeah, Khan. And I see, let's see here. Got a few precepts in the chat. Proverbs 13 and 20. I think I'll pull this one and then we'll be done. Dang. I'll read it off my phone because I just exited out the screen. Let's see. Proverbs 13 and 20. From the brother, I believe Azrael. I'm not sure. Could be Brother Yeshaya. Brother 13, Proverbs 13 and 20. Let's read this for the brother really quick. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed, right? He that walketh with wise men, you shall be wise, man. So the best thing for you to do, man, if you can't beat them, join them. If you can't beat them, join them, man. Maybe some of that favor will bleed into your life. You never know, right? But the number one thing that you shouldn't do is hate on your brother and Brother Azrael, is hate on your brother or hate on your sister who you see the Most High has set up, who you see has the Most High has anointed and put favor on, right? But with that, Brother Danal, I yield, giving all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, by way of his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. We are the hopeful elect, right? It's our business, man, to supply the uplifting of the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans here over on the Western Hemisphere of the earth, the Americas. Man, showing y'all we got to get back to these law, statutes, and commandments, man. But with that, man, it's been another video. I hope you guys were edified. Let us know in the comments, man. But other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. We'll see you guys next time. Shalom.